Hello, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be reading Second Chance romances for a week. This is a series that I've been doing here on my channel where I pick a romance trope and read 5 to 6 books in that particular trope from various sources on the internet to see which trope is superior. We'll figure that out at the end of the year, but I have my own little rating and ranking scale for all the books that I read, and at the end of each video I compare which tropes are doing better than other tropes in my rankings. So this time around, I'm going to be reading 5 books instead of 6. I was getting a lot of repeat recommendations for Second Chance romances, and so I just picked the 5 that I felt were most reflective, I guess, of this trope, and that I feel like would be good. Books that I thought I would like. So let me tell you what books they are and where I got these recommendations. First up, we have The Co-op by Tara DeWitt. This is a book that I have been excited to read for quite a while. I don't really know much about it, but I have read another book by Tara DeWitt before that I liked but didn't love. So I'm hoping that this book I enjoy even more than I enjoyed Funny Feelings. This was a recommendation that I got from my YouTube comment section. I got a lot of really good recommendations. A lot of the books that y'all recommended though were books that I had already read. So I needed to pick something new, something I hadn't read before, and a few of you said The Co-op, and I added it to my list, obviously. Next up is The Third Baseman by Lulu Moore. This book right here, I was lucky enough to get a copy of this, receive a copy of this from Valentine PR. I don't know much about this book except for it's about a baseball player, obviously, and I got the recommendation for this one from Amazon. I just searched up Second Chance romance, and this is a book that Amazon spit out to me. A lot of the times, I say this in every video, Amazon or indie authors will put like the trope in the title of the book. On Amazon, it'll say like The Third Baseman, a second chance sports romance or something like that, which makes it really easy for you to find whatever trope you're looking for. So if you're ever in a bind and you're looking for, trope recommendations and you don't want to go on YouTube or Bookstagram, Amazon's got you covered. So interested to see what I think of this one. Next up, we have Rewrite Our Story by Kat Singleton. This is one that I saw all over Bookstagram. It seemed like this is the only recommendation that I got when I searched the hashtag for Second Chance romance, and it is absolutely stunning. This book is so pretty, just so unique, and not something that I feel like I've ever seen on a book cover before. Definitely a unique design, which I definitely appreciate. I got this particular recommendation, and I was sold on this book by Daria from Daria Booktrover. Again, I'll leave links to everybody that I talk about in the description down below. So if you want to go and follow anyone, there you go. New recommendations, new people to recommend books to you. Next up is a reread. I always like to do a reread in these videos to ensure that there's a level of fairness kind of across the board, or at least like a baseline to kind of go off of, because I feel like every trope has potential, right? Every trope has the potential to be a 5-star read. This time around, I decided to pick Him by Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen. This is a book that I've read before and a book that I know that I enjoy, and it's one that I got interested in rereading after doing my like top 10 sports romance recommendations video, or like most popular sports romances according to you video. I'll leave a link in the description, but yeah, I'm excited to reread that. And then the last book is Again the Magic by Lisa Kleypas. This is the booktube pick. I knew pretty instantly that I wanted to read this one. I tried to find a video where this person was talking about this book. I know it's their favorite. I got this recommendation from Samantha from the channel Books with Samantha, but she gushes about this book, and I was really excited to pick it up because I knew she liked it. So when I saw her Second Chance romance recommendations video, remembered that she enjoyed this book, I was like, okay, yeah, boom, 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 it's happening. So those are the 5 books I'm going to be reading in this video, and I'm very excited to see how this trope performs. Context, I feel like I do like Second Chance romances, but I said that I liked Friends to Lovers romances and that video didn't go so well, so we'll see how this one goes. Let's get into the vlog. All right, so I decided to start things off with Again the Magic by Lisa Kleypas. This is a book that I have had on my TBR for so long because Samantha from Books with Samantha, this is her favorite book, and I feel like hearing her gush about it has made me so excited to read it. Just in general, Samantha has like the most infectious enthusiasm for books. If you are not subscribed, I'll leave a link in the description, obviously, to her channel. But she has always made me like very curious about this book, even when I had read a couple of Lisa Kleypas books and like wasn't super impressed. Now I've read more of Lisa's backlist and I really enjoy a lot of her books. And this is like the prequel, I guess, to the Wallflower series. It follows McKenna and Aileen, I believe is how you pronounce her name. I'm listening to the audiobook. It is very much a second chance romance, so I can already answer that question for this book. Like, is it a second chance romance? Is that like integral to the story? Absolutely. Essentially, McKenna was a stable boy. Aileen is a part of the gentry. I can't remember exactly like what her title is. She is a lady and she can't be with this guy, but she falls for him. They kind of fool around, and I think her dad finds out about this and sends McKenna away to kind of like sever ties and get McKenna to actually leave, Aileen has to basically say that she's never loved him and that she's never had feelings for him, and she basically like callously tosses him aside, even though she is dying inside, like telling him all of these things. And so they've both been pining for each other for many years, though McKenna has this sort of like need for vengeance, I guess. So he is back after being sent away for like, 12 years. He is a successful businessman. I think he went to America and like, became incredibly wealthy. Obviously no one really cares about the ton in the United States. So he was able to like rise up and become kind of a gentleman, I guess, in the States. So now he's back and he's like striking up business, I guess, with Aileen's older brother. Also, he wants to have sex, I guess, with her and then toss her aside like she tossed him aside. So we'll see if that ends up happening. It hasn't happened yet, but that's kind of his plan. And he's also trying to find out what Aileen's secret is. We know something happened to her as a part of an illness. At the end of the prologue, like, we know something happened, we don't know what, and it has caused her to not want to find a partner. We know that it's probably something damaging. We don't know exactly what it is. I mean, as readers we know, but like he doesn't know, and that's like part of the mystery of the story. There's also the side character of Livia, who is Aileen's younger sister, who is like falling for Kenna's business partner, Gideon, who's an American. My thoughts so far are that I am enjoying the audiobook listening experience. I like this narrator. I can't remember the name of this one. It's not Rosalind Landor, but great audiobook narration. I am liking the sort of tension between the two of them. Anytime they're in the same room together, I definitely feel that sort of like palpable tension, and I like that they have been into each other this whole time. Only complaint that I have, I guess, is that I would prefer to see more on page, I don't want to say banter, but like I want to understand why these two have like held a flame for each other for so long. Even if it's a childhood friends to lovers thing, like I want to see why they like want to be together. But like I'm not overly hung up on that because I mean it's a second chance romance and it's doing its thing. So I'm gonna keep reading. I'll let you know my final thoughts and feelings when I'm done. My friends, it's actually been a few days since I last filmed for this vlog. So if my final thoughts on Again the Magic by Lisa Kleypas are a little bit lacking, I apologize. So sadly at the 50% mark on, this book kind of fell apart for me and was a little bit disappointing. I really liked the initial setup. It seemed that like it was going to be a really solid childhood friends lover story, but unfortunately I don't feel like there was enough development of the relationship either in the past or in the present. We get told that these two were friends growing up, but we don't really get to see their interactions as friends when they're younger. The time that we got to see in the prologue was really kind of the end of their friendship and not so much like what they actually saw in each other and what they liked about each other. And in the present day, again, like we have this hero who is successful and is now someone who could marry the heroine, even though he's not necessarily part of the gentry or the ton or whatever. I'm still not seeing like how these two were ultimately like perfect for each other, and maybe I'm being a little too picky, but that's something that I really need in my stories. I need at least a couple of things keeping these people together and drawing them close. That being said, like I didn't hate this book. A lot of the times when those elements are missing, I really, really don't like a book. It's like a 2-star or below. In this case, there were some really charming moments. There's a moment at the end or near the end of the book where the hero does something really sweet for the heroine and sort of like goes out on a limb to prove his love to her, and she also makes a grand gesture in return, which I really appreciated. I don't know, this one's tough for me. It's one of those books that, again, I was really excited about because Samantha loved this book, and it is just a beloved Lisa Kleypas book, but it just wasn't my perfect, like, second chance romance. That's okay. I think this is definitely a very good one, and I think it's a very solid choice. If that is what you're looking for, a second chance romance, this is that. It just wasn't perfect. So would this book work if it weren't a second chance romance? Like, let's get into the ranking portion of this clip. I would say it's like a 5 for second chance romance. Like, this is a second chance romance, period. If you're looking for one, this is it. I mean, no complaints there. In terms of my enjoyment of it, it's a 3-star read. It wasn't terrible, obviously, but it just wasn't perfect for me. I need there to be more longing and a little bit more angst and a little bit more context. How sexy was this one? I'm gonna give it a 3. It was not like sexless, but I wasn't like aching and yearning and pining for these characters to get together, I guess. So let me dig for my phone and do my final calculations. This book earns a 3.66, which I feel like is a pretty fair assessment for this book. I feel like it actually might be a little generous given like how I really truly felt about it, but I mean, this is a second chance romance and it was fun enough even if it wasn't like perfect. This is a book that I'd recommend if you are looking for something kind of casual. Definitely know you want a second chance romance and you are looking for an audiobook because the audiobook for this was pretty good. Let's move on to a book that I'm 50% into, a book that I am enjoying much more, and I think that's because this is the book that I selected for myself. and that is Him by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. I talked about this book in a semi-recent video I did where I talked about the like most popular sports romances of all time. I'll link that video in the description if you want to get some like sports romance recommendations. I really liked filming that one. This is like one of the top recommendations. This is one that a lot of people really like. I've read it before. It's been many years, I think 5+ years since I've read it, and I wanted to see, if this one still holds up as a second chance romance. I don't really think of this book as that. It is a sports second chance romance, but I just like, that's not how I think of it. And it's really good. It is a second chance romance. I really do love the differences between this book and the last book. So this book follows our two main characters, Jamie and Wes. Wes is, I would say, the better hockey player of the two, but they grew up going to a hockey camp together. I can't remember if they both coached at the camp or if they were just friends at the camp, but now in the present day, they are coaches at the camp together. And Wes decides that he wants to be a coach with Jamie after he sees Jamie at college Final Four game and like reconnects with him because they went to camp together many years ago, but they kind of lost contact in college after something happens, which we find out about. But Wes wants to kind of reconnect with Jamie because even though he knows that Jamie's straight and Wes is gay, he can't help it. He needs to be around this guy that he's always kind of had a crush on and wants to spend like one final summer with his friend. And you get to see them sort of like mend their semi-broken friendship. They did lose contact and there's a reason for that. And you do get to see them obviously like exploring their sexuality together as Jamie kind of comes to terms with the fact that he might not be as straight as he thought that he was. And it is just so fun. I'm just having a great time with it. And I do like that the characters are very distinct. I've also liked that in contrast to the last book, you do definitely have a situation where these two have a reason to like been friends and to have an attraction for each other. Like there's a forbidden element, obviously, and again, the magic. But in this book, like these two were friends. They went to camp together for many years. You get to see kind of some banter and sort of like how they play off of each other. They have similar interests. Even if it's not like explicitly stated in dialogue, you get to see it represented in the things that were shown, right? Like these moments of banter and sort of like intangible thing. Like we want to rekindle our friendship. Both of them have that like separate feeling. Jamie's just not really sure how to do it. And obviously Wes kind of takes over and goes to the camp. I don't know. It's just good. It's good. There's obviously sexual experimentation, which I think is like always fun. I like that in books, kind of, again, regardless of like sexuality. I love seeing people get to explore things in a safe and comfortable way. That's part of the reason I love romance so much is you get to read different people's experiences and explore things safely, which I really enjoy. Then there is a scene in this book that deals with jealousy a little bit, which I really enjoyed. We have Wes at a bar and he is talking to a guy that he met on Grindr. Jamie is getting increasingly drunk, kind of watching Wes play pool with this guy, and he's like, yeah, he's just getting jealous and he's not really sure why he's getting jealous. I think that's one of my favorite tropes, actually. I don't like jealousy in an alpha male sort of way or a way that is outward. I like internalized jealousy where you're not sure why you are upset that the person that you don't know that you have a crush on is like interacting with someone else and you're like, why am I getting upset? Like, why am I getting upset that they're talking to someone else? Like, I don't like this person. Like, why am I so upset? And you find out it's because you actually are stupid and really love them. That's like one of my favorite tropes. I think it's not done enough. It makes things feel like tropey and fanficky, but in the best way. I like it. I also like that despite the fact that Jamie has thought that he was straight this entire time, he is not rejecting Wes as a result of this. I think sometimes that happens in books too, and I'm not saying that's like totally invalid, but it's nice to see Jamie handling his feelings in a way that feels very nice, I guess. Like, he is figuring out his sexuality, but he's not pushing Wes away as a result. I'm not saying that won't happen later, but at this point, it's just nice to see him saying, like, you know what, maybe I'm bi, and that's okay. I like that. Delightful bi awakening. We'd love to see it. Okay, I'm gonna keep reading this book. I'll probably finish it tonight, honestly, and update you tomorrow morning. I'll be honest with y'all, I'm actually supposed to be posting this vlog tomorrow. I don't know whether that'll happen since we're only 2 books in. This past week I started working on this video, and Monday I got some like interesting news that is shaking up my life, and I will be sharing that in some weekly reading vlogs that will be returning back to my channel. But that means that I may or may not read 3 books tomorrow, and if I don't read 3 books tomorrow, I'm gonna read 2 books tomorrow and then 1 on Monday. So if you see me in the same outfit 2 days in a row, that is why. Also, I was at my parents' house today, and I just drove back, and my hair is like, I was gonna say it's not hairing, that's not a verb. Sorry, I've been playing with my hair. Hello friends. I'm extremely sweaty, and I'm attempting to film this clip a second time, but happy Sunday. I did finish this book last night. I'm not gonna hold it up because I am obviously doing my makeup while I talk to you about it. I'm getting a slow start to my day. It's like 4 p.m. and I'm putting on makeup. And that's for your benefit. So you don't have to look at my bare face while I talk to you about books for the rest of the day. But I really enjoyed Him by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. I thought it was fantastic. And when I went to, click that I had read it on Goodreads, I was surprised to find that I apparently rated this book 4 stars the first and second time that I read it. This third time around, however, was very much a 5-star read. Like, I just genuinely enjoyed this book so much, and I think it really comes down to the pacing for me. Obviously, the romance was really cute, and I liked the story and how it wasn't very like angsty or high in terms of turmoil, which is really nice and something that I feel like can be an issue in some LGBTQIA plus romances. I don't know if I'd call it an issue, but it's just not something that I tend to love when I pick up queer romances. I really like a good lighthearted romance for the most part, and if there's any angst and turmoil, I want it to be between the couple and not for like homophobia or like coming out reasons. Not that those aren't valid things to include in books. It's just like a personal preference thing. I just like my characters to be happy and free from those constraints, I guess you could say. Is that really the word I'm looking for? I think you get the point. I think this is a complaint that other people have as well, like there's nothing wrong with a coming out story. It's just not necessarily what I want to read every time I pick up a queer romance. So it was just nice saying that like coming out was definitely an element to this book, but it doesn't mean that this book was, super, super angsty and sad as a result. It was like, I figured out my sexuality and I am cool with it. And I actually really liked that. I really liked that element of the story. The romance was good. It was a perfectly paced romance. I feel like I never got bored. I feel like the sex scenes were hot, but there was enough relationship development for me to kind of get excited. The only real complaint I feel like I could have is that I guess the relationship could have been developed just a touch more, but since there is a sequel to this book, it's hard to really like complain or say that this relationship like wasn't well fleshed out. These two do have a baked in history, and again, I think there was so much show that I didn't need them to like tell us why these two like should be together. I don't know, I just thought it was fun. Okay, it was a fun romance, and I think if you were looking for a second chance sports romance, this is really good. It like fits the bill. I don't know like if everyone would consider this a 5 out of 5 on the second chance romance scale. Like, does it need to be a second chance romance for the story to work? I kind of actually feel like it does. I'm not saying that you couldn't retool this story a little bit, or that like couldn't have the same character dynamics and it like not be a second chance romance, but I do think it was like kind of integral to the story. So I'm gonna give it a 5 on the second chance romance scale. I think if you were to pick up this book looking for a second chance romance, you would not be disappointed. In terms of how sexy this book was, again, I'm gonna go with a 5 because you've got this like longing that was built up before they get together, and I love the way that these two like talk to each other as they were doing sexy things. Love conversations about, what other people are comfortable with when you are having like a sex scene. Like, I want the two characters to communicate about their feelings and their desires and what they're comfortable with and not comfortable with, and I liked that was included in this book. Is it just final rating, right? Sexiness, second chance romance, and then the final rating for this book, like my enjoyment, it was a 5-star read, so like, this is a 5-star read. Have I given this high of a rating to other books? I don't know if I'm just feeling generous because I have been reading a lot of like kind of mediocre books lately, but I just genuinely enjoyed this book, and I think that this one is one that is deserving of the hype. I feel like I've been seeing a resurgence of this book in the past couple of years with the advent of ye olde book talk, and now I've kind of just been like, I mean, I guess it's an oldie but a goodie, but like I haven't really been convinced that this is one that should stand the test of time until I just did the most recent reread, and I'm like, you know what, no, this is like a very solid book. It's written well, it's fun, it's kind of like low angst and just everything that you would probably want from a delightful romance. It's not like super rom-com-y, but it's not too serious. It's just everything. So I've been talking about this for too long. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my makeup, and I'm gonna start in on something new. What that will be, I'm not entirely sure. Let's pull up our handy dandy list and pick together, shall we? I think I am going to read Rewrite Our Story by Kat Singleton next. That is the Instagram pick, and this is a book that I was actually kindly sent a copy of by the author in the most beautiful PR box, which I will open in the next clip. Just kind of like show you all the things that are in there, just because it's one of my favorite things about this job, I guess you could say. It feels weird to call this a job, but I mean, I guess it is a job. One of my favorite things is to get obviously free books and free PR from authors who I am really excited about, and just getting to see their excitement for their book as well. It was clear that a lot of time and thought was put into this PR package, so I really want to be able to like show that to you here in this video. So I'm gonna get started on that, and I'll let you know how I'm feeling. All right, friends, I'm a little out of breath because I just ran upstairs to grab this PR box to show y'all. I'm like 35% into Rewrite Our Story, and so I figured it was a good time to update you. If I waited any longer, it'd be dark outside. So let me go ahead and just show you what's in here. First off, how cute is this custom book box. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite this cute. Like, the custom details I think were a really nice touch. I don't think I've ever really received anything like this before. Like, I've gotten cute PR packages before, but like not to this level. Okay, let's open her up. Literally, like, the cutest thing ever. Okay, there is a little note from the author, which I'll read in a little bit. And then there's this really like pretty envelope with a wax seal, and it comes with a bunch of like stickers and other like kind of assorted merch. I'm assuming it's all book related, like specifically to this book. Oh my god, there's like a postcard. Wow, this is really cute. Okay, so 2 postcards. There is this like art print, which is pretty. And then you've got all of these stickers. I'm not gonna go through all of these, but so cute. And then 2 bookmarks. Wow. Okay. Already like so impressed with this. First up, I'm seeing a candle. It is the Kate Jennings candle. Okay. I really like this. It kind of smells, I wouldn't even say it's masculine. It's like very spa-like, and it's not overwhelming. It's not one of those candles that like hits you in the face right when you open it, which I actually really appreciate. Okay. What else do we have in here? There's just like so many things. It's so cute. Okay. Got some like annotation gear, which I love. I love whenever like little page flags and stuff are included. 3 pens, which are like really aesthetically pleasing. And then this roll of floral washi tape. I tried to zoom in and it just didn't work, so we're gonna ignore that. Oh my god, this is actually perfect. Okay, I think one of the earring backs came off, but cowboy boot earrings. You know, as a yeehaw myself, this is going to be staying in my jewelry collection for quite a while. I also like that the backing of these too, like everything in this is custom, and I just wanted to show you this box because I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. But like, regret or story. Okay, come on, I'm gagged. Hair clip with daisies. Okay, obsessed. And then I think we're reaching the end of the road. Page flags, which perfectly match the books. How do authors do this? I mean, I'm assuming there's like a way to order page flags that like aesthetically match what you're going for, but this book is fucking beautiful. Also, there's like a little cookie with the book cover on it, which is so cute. So thank you so much to Kat for sending this to me. Like, this is by far the prettiest box I've ever received for a book, so hats off to you. Like, a lot of care and effort was put into this. So let's go ahead and talk about the book, right? I've been gabbing too much about all of the delightful stuff in this box. I'm actually really enjoying the story, and I'm always kind of hesitant going into books from authors I've never read before. I was talking about this on Patreon reading sprints just earlier today, that I'm always excited to try books by new authors, but I'm always pretty hesitant when it comes to romance, at least lately. I've not had the best luck trying to read from new to me indie authors. I recently did my like not top 20, but like reading the top 20 Amazon bestsellers video, and a lot of those books like I wanted to enjoy, but I just feel like oftentimes I don't connect with writing styles, and I'm just picky, so I tend to just pick up books from the same authors over and over again. Sorry, my cats are chasing each other. Yeah, this is actually like really cute, and it's living up to my expectations. So this book's about our 2 main characters, Marigold. You say Marigold or Marigold? I'm gonna go with Marigold and Cade. At the beginning of the story, we have our heroine as a young kid, as a young child, and her mom like recently passed away. She runs to her next door neighbor's house and is instantly comforted by the boy next door who's like 3 years older than her. Her best friend also lives in that house and is the younger sister to the guy that our heroine has a crush on. So like, she is best friends with someone named Pippa. Pippa's older brother Cade is the guy that she's into, so it makes things kind of complicated, but she is comforted by this guy. The story is told in dual POV, dual timeline. We've got Pepper being super cute and Teddy chasing him. Dual POV, dual timeline, and we get to see the second chance romance component of this. You can tell that Cade and Goldie had a connection when they were younger, but since he's 3 years older than her, it's hard to make an age gap like that work when you are younger. He definitely feels like he shouldn't have a crush on this girl, even though he has his mother's approval once they're like, you know, when she's 18 plus. He doesn't feel like he can go for her. She has had a crush on him for this entire time, and so there's like that sweet angst and tension. And then in the present day, fortunately, Cade and Pippa's mother passes away, and we have heroine Goldie returning back to town to kind of support them as they are grieving, which is like a very like heavy topic, obviously, and I think it's handled pretty well. I think both Pippa and Cade are reacting normally. I feel like a lot of times I see death occur in books and it's just like not handled well, or it's just glazed over, but our characters are really like suffering from the things that are happening to them, and you get to see Goldie kind of like, I think she's called Mare and Goldie. She's called Goldie by our hero, so I just kind of go with that, but Mare is like her POV header. That's like what it says. Yeah, I don't know. I'm liking the connection between these 2 characters. I will say, like, this is not the most unique storytelling ever. Like, I'm reading this and I'm comparing it in my head to something like a Devney Perry book or something like an Elsie Silver book, because it is set in a small town. You've got like a hero who's a rancher, that kind of thing. And I feel like with Elsie Silver books, she is really good with brevity in terms of being very impactful with her words. She doesn't overwrite her stories. Not that this is like super overwritten or anything, but she's really good with painting an emotional picture and making those emotions feel relatable but also unique. You feel like every character feels very individual. That's my only real complaint about this book. We have a heroine who is a romance author, I believe, and I like that detail, but I feel like beyond that, she's not feeling the most like well-rounded and fleshed out, and Cade just seems a little bit angry, I would say, in his present POV chapters. I mean, that being said, I love the like element of jealousy in this book, which I don't always love. I'm loving the way it's executed in this one, so it's like I'm not mad. I'm having a good time with it. Like I don't know if this is going to be like a 5-star read for me, but this definitely gets me more excited for this author's work in the future, which is great because I mean, like, I have this amazing PR package and it would be so much of a bummer if like I didn't end up enjoying the book, but I'm happy to report that I am actually having a good time with this. And maybe as the book carries on, we'll learn more about the character's background and maybe our heroine will have a little bit more to her, but at this like 35% mark, I feel like the story is set up well and I'm invested in the relationship, so excited to see what happens. There have been some like kisses and they're kind of out on the town and he's touching her intimately and it's spicy, you know, not mad at it. So I'm gonna keep reading. I'm actually trying to finish this book tonight and get 50% into something new. I'll update you bright and early tomorrow morning on my thoughts and feelings on how everything's going. Again, I feel like I'm having such good luck with this trope because maybe second chance romances are easier to pull off. I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like we did not have good luck in the last trope video for Friends to Lovers. Regardless, 10s across the board. All right, happy Tuesday, which is the day this video is getting uploaded. I am reading up a storm. So last night I finished Rewrite Our Story by Kat Singleton. I wanted to like reflect on this one before I updated you, which was perfect since like I had to go to sleep, and as I was drifting off, I was just thinking about this book and kind of like my overall thoughts and feelings, and it's really tough because there were so many elements of this that really worked for me. I loved the dual timeline, dual POV. I liked some of the things that our hero did for our heroine, but there were two things that made this book not perfect for me. The first one being the hero's treatment of the heroine. It's like Cade did some really, really sweet things for Goldie. However, there were a few moments where he was really like physical with her in a way that I didn't personally vibe with. And I know that if you're someone who's really into the jealousy trope, you probably won't even bat an eye. But there's a couple of moments where she is trying to kind of like escape him and like think about things on her own, and he doesn't let her leave. And I know that the author like didn't mean any ill intent by including that element, but to me it felt icky a little bit at times to see the hero grab the heroine and not let her leave. I just didn't love that. You could say that that adds to the tension and the angst. Like, it could definitely be interpreted a couple of different ways. It just wasn't something that I personally really loved, and it definitely stood out to me as something I wanted to mention. And then I don't remember like how much I said and exactly what I said in the last clip that I filmed about this particular book, but I think the thing that was really missing for me was the why behind the relationship. We know that these two are childhood friends to lovers, but we don't see either in the past or the present really what makes these two super compatible. We do have a heroine who's really supportive, but I don't think beyond that we really got to know much more about her besides like her passion for writing, I guess. I wanted to see the things that made her tick and the relationships that made her the way that she is. Like, we know her mom passed away, but that didn't really seem too much of an element in the story except for to make our heroine more sympathetic to the hero. Like, she could be there for him because she's been through it herself. Maybe that's nitpicky, but I just think for me, like, a truly standout romance has those elements that make the characters really complex. Again, thinking of something like an Elsie Silver book, often we hear about like parental relationships that make the hero or the heroine react in romantic relationships the way that they do. We also get to see maybe their insecurities a little bit more and just make them overall more well-rounded. That being said, like, this is a book that I think would be such a fun summer read for so many people, and I actually, like, I enjoyed this book. I'm gonna keep it on my shelves, and I definitely see myself recommending this one, again, as like a fun summer read, but I think if you're looking for like the most heartbreaking, angsty, swoony thing, this isn't necessarily going to be that, and I wanted to mention that because I feel like a lot of the early reviews I've been saying for this book are that it's heartbreaking and emotional and like tension-filled and angsty, and yeah, obviously this isn't like the most lighthearted of stories, but it definitely is not the like tearjerker that I think it's like being touted as, so I just wanted to point that out. Let's try to rate this book. Okay, so for me, like, an overall rating I think is a 3. It has me excited to read more things from this author in the future, so that's like a very optimistic 3 stars. Not that this book was like worse than 3 stars and I'm bumping it up, I'm just saying like optimistic as in I think this author has like great promise. So 3 stars for sure. In terms of the sexiness, I think I'm gonna give it a 4. I really do think this book is, I mean, it is very steamy. There are a lot of steamy scenes. At times I kind of wanted to skim, but I do think the writing of the sex scenes was pretty fun and I did like seeing them get together, so I'm gonna give it 4 for sexiness. And then for the second chance romance component, I think I'm also going to give it a 4. Like, it was obviously a necessary part of this book. Like, this wouldn't really exist if it weren't a second chance romance. So, I mean, hats off to the author for accomplishing that. The 1 star that I'm taking off, though, is for, again, that element of like, okay, but if you're going to make it a childhood friends to lover second chance romance, I'm going to need some like why as to why these two like each other so much and like what carried on their love for so many years. So overall, this one gets a 3.66, which I think is what I gave the last book, what was the last book that I read, y'all? I have been filming this video for what seems like forever. Let's talk about a book that has perhaps an opposite problem. I started in on The Third Baseman by Lulu Moore. I was sent this book by, I want to say like Valentine PR. Very grateful. I'm always grateful to have new releases being sent to me. It is one of my favorite things, like I've already mentioned in this video before. But this book's about our two main characters, Jupiter Reeves, that's our hero, and our heroine, Marnie. And this book definitely focuses more on the, I guess, unique traits, you could say, of hero and heroine. We have a hero who wants to be a professional baseball player. He's known this since he was little, and in high school he decides he's not going to go to college. He's going to try to get drafted into the MLB directly from high school. So that is like really his goal. While he's in high school, he starts a relationship with the really like nerdy girl in his class, or maybe she's younger than him, I'm not entirely sure, but the nerdy girl who wants to work at NASA and like wants to be an aerospace engineer or a physicist. I don't actually remember exactly what she wants to do, but he develops a relationship with her. We're getting flashbacks for that early relationship, and then in the present day we have a situation where our heroine was working for NASA, and then she decides she's going to work for this baseball team instead because she was offered $1 million salary. Only offered that salary because our hero regrets breaking her heart many years ago, and he's trying to convince her to give him a second chance. I just feel like the setup for this book is a little bit weird, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if it's just because I have been actually listening to this book, I'm having my phone read it to me or what, but I'm not really sure like why someone who was working at fucking NASA would want to go and work for a pro baseball team. Like, I'm not sure what the appeal is there besides the high salary. I don't feel like we've been told that she has like a dying relative that she needs to like pay for their care or something. Like, I just don't know what would justify her moving there besides being still in love with this guy. We also find out that she was married to someone. She recently got divorced, and part of the reason she got a divorce was because she couldn't stop thinking about Jupiter. So it's like, obviously it's a given that these two are going to get back together, but it's just very interesting the way that things are kind of playing out in this story. I am appreciating the past timeline. I feel like that's a complaint that I've heard in a lot of reviews for this book, is that people don't like the flashbacks in the beginning of this book is a little slow, and it is a little slow, I will say, but I'm actually appreciating the flashbacks because I think it's helping us build this relationship and understanding why these two would be together. And I think, again, that's kind of where this one failed. Like, there were flashbacks, but it was like flashbacks of them like wanting to kiss and not really flashbacks about why they'd want to be together. And this one, you definitely have those elements. Though in the present day, that's what I'm saying, it's the confusing part in the present day. If in this book, it's like, why the fuck would she come and work for this professional baseball team? I'm not really understanding what her job is. Something about like reducing risk or something and like making this team better because they're not very good, but like she can do some like sciencey shit to figure out why they're not good. I don't know. I feel like I'm sounding negative. I'm actually just really fucking hungry. Hayden's making a slut right now. This is good. Like, it's a cute book. It is very well written, I will say. I think like the writing is really nice. The grammar or whatever is like nice. I appreciate that. Right now it's like feeling very 3-star though, because it's like, this book has the opposite problem of this one, but like there's still issues in a similar vein, if that makes sense. I don't know. Opposite problems, but similar outcomes. I'm feeling 3-starsy about this one, but maybe it'll like really take me by surprise. We haven't really gotten to any of the sexy moments, though we do know that the hero and heroine slept together in the past, so I don't know. I'm gonna continue reading it and I'll let you know, obviously, my final thoughts and feelings. We can move on to the last book, which I am hoping is gonna be just fantastic, The Co-op by Tara DeWitt. Okay, so I finished The Third Baseman, and I feel like despite my earlier statements about this one being so different than the book I read before it, it really felt very similar to Rewrite Our Story. Not in that they were like, identical or anything, but it's like childhood friends to lovers, flashback vibes. And I don't know. I feel like even though at the beginning we were set up to believe that these two had this like undeniable chemistry and, had traits that made them unique, I don't feel like those really went anywhere, and I don't feel like the book needed as much detail as it had, because the detail didn't really add anything to the story. Because at least Rewrite Our Story was an easy read. Like, I appreciated how quickly that one read. It was breezy, even if it wasn't like the most in-depth. Whereas I feel like The Third Baseman was trying to be this like really emotional story and give you more to work with and have more fleshed out characters, but honestly a lot of the time I feel like it just bogged the story down and made it like not super fun to read. So it's like hard to say if I liked this one more or less than Rewrite Our Story, because like in some ways I liked the writing and in other ways I just feel like it wasn't totally for me. Like, I think the overall rating for this is like a 3-star. It was fine, it just wasn't amazing, and I feel like I've been saying that about quite a few books for this video, which is like, not my favorite, although you know what, I did really like him, so that's fine. All right, so 3 for overall rating. In terms of sexiness, I'm gonna give it a 2. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't find this book particularly sexy. Everybody's mileage will definitely vary. Just don't really like the way the sex scenes were written, and I also don't feel like I was invested enough in the relationship to care when they finally had sex. I didn't really care about the flashback sex scenes either, so 2 for sexiness. In terms of second chance, I guess I'm gonna give it a 4 because like it did what it said it was going to do, I guess. Like it is a second chance romance. I feel like the story could not exist without the second chance component to it, but I also feel like it was lacking for me in some ways. So anyway, overall rating for this book's a 3. It's okay because I'm reading a book that I'm actually quite enjoying, and let's talk about that one instead. All right, The Co-op by Tara DeWitt is a book that I'm like, I don't know, 40% into. A book about our heroine Loren and our hero Deacon. They knew each other growing up because our heroine would go visit her grandmother in the summers. She had sort of a tumultuous relationship with her parents, and they would just drop her off every summer, and so she got close to this guy. I don't know if they had an enemies to lovers relationship at the beginning. It kind of sounded like they did, and then they just like started sleeping together kind of out of nowhere, in their past, and we've gotten a couple of flashbacks into that, but it's not really like a dual timeline story, I wouldn't say. In the present day, we have Loren coming back to grandma's house, or like duplex or something like that. Basically, she is fixing it up with Deacon. They are in charge of doing that, and they're, I think, going to sell it at the end. But to have any money to be able to fix this place up, get married so that they can use Loren's trust fund left to her by her grandmother, who is deceased. I'm liking it. I like the dynamics between Loren and Deacon. Like, they definitely don't like each other, and watching them fight their like sexual feelings for each other has been really fun. Like, definitely the kind of like second chance romance, enemies to lovers sort of thing that I like. I mean, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say that this is like truly enemies to lovers, but I do feel like there is sort of that like animosity and banter that I personally really like, and I feel like it's a switch up and a change up from the other books that we've read for this video. I feel like almost all of them have been childhood friends to lovers, second chance. This is like, yeah, we hooked up when we were younger, and yes, we kind of had a thing for each other, but also I didn't really like you then, and you pissed me off and like kind of broke my heart, and so I don't like you now. I think that's fun. I think that dynamic is fun, and is not really one that I feel like we've had so far. So, I mean, I like it, and I am not only glad that I'm enjoying this book, but I am particularly happy because I read Funny Feelings and I liked it, but I'm liking this one more. And I feel like that's an unpopular opinion, but I like that for me. You know what I mean? Like, I need another 5-star. I really do. Or a 4-star. Really, I'll take anything at this point. Okay, so I finished The Co-op by Tara DeWitt, and y'all, I really, really enjoyed this book. This is definitely like 5-star material for me. I'm sort of on the fence at the 50% mark on like where this book was going and the direction it was heading, because obviously there was that like banter going on, but I just wasn't sure if it was going to eventually develop into something more. And I was literally just on a live show with some of my patrons talking about how I often get frustrated when romances don't include any like familial relationships, and this book expertly handled really tough relationships with family, and I so appreciated that because it really affects how you interact with the world and then interact in your romantic relationships. And the heroine Loren in this book is such interesting relationships with both her mom and her dad, and they felt so real, and I just really cared for Loren a lot as a result of the things she'd been through. So honestly, Tara DeWitt I think is an author to watch. Like, if you are an Emily Henry fan and you haven't picked up any books by this author, you definitely should. She is, in my opinion, testament to the fact that like indie romance can be just as good as traditionally published romance. The nuance that she includes in her characters and the complicated relationships and worlds that she brings us into, they're excellent. She's so good at what she does, and I'm excited to read more books from her in the future. So very excited to add another 5-star to this list, to this video, I guess you could say. In terms of the sexiness of this book, I think I'm gonna give it a 4. I found it very sexy, and I did really enjoy the smutty-ish scene. I do wish that we would have gotten like a little bit more detail. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like it could have been just a touch sexier, but that might just be a me problem. I don't know. And then in terms of second chance romance, again, it's like integral to the story. I feel like this is one of those tropes that like if you're going to attempt to do it, you're probably going to execute it well. I think say that. I mean, we had 2 books that I was just kind of about like in terms of the second chance, but you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do a second chance romance, it's going to be second chance romance, you know? Enemies to lovers is one that's like an on the fence thing. It's a little different. Okay, also, can we just take a second? They are so funny to me. Okay, which leaves us with a 4.66. I think that's the highest rating we have so far. You know, I feel like that makes sense because this was a fantastic book. I will leave the average rating for this video right here, like all the books in this video, as compared to the other videos. I want to say this one's one of the higher ones. I could be wrong. I definitely know that it performed better than Friends to Lovers, and I had a better time reading these books than the ones that I read for the Friends to Lovers video. So like, you know, I don't know what that says, but I had such a fun time filming this video. I love doing these. I think next up I'm going to be doing Grumpy Sunshine. So if you have any recommendations for Grumpy Sunshine romances, put them in the comments down below, and one of your recommendations might be featured in the next video that I do. So thanks so much for watching this video. I love y'all so much, and until next time.